Hi, I'm Simon Candish and welcome to another marvelous video. One of the most impressive things about Gerald Potterton's Heavy Metal is the work of animation on display. Those who have seen this 1981 Canadian adult animated science fantasy anthology movie here will agree with us when we tell you that the flick is bound to remind you of the days when not everything was computer generated. You see, animation films can be quite tricky. There are plenty of movies out there that have been dismissed as animated flicks for children and have not gotten the true recognition that they genuinely deserved. After all, one can't deny that the technical mechanisms involved in animation have come a long way since its very beginning. Initially, we used to have character outlines and hand drawings, but if you look at things today, we are stressing on the computer-generated era here. It is quite actually different and also visually stunning, may we add. Well, this brings us to the main content of today's video, where we will be discussing Potterton's animated flick that might be aimed towards teens, but we are pretty sure that the content featured is not appropriate for most of them. Based on the fantastical illustrated magazine, also titled Heavy Metal, the movie happens to be an anthology of an array of sci-fi and fantasy stories, all put together by a single theme of an evil force. Stay tuned till the end of this video because we will be exploring the entire movie for you. Yes, all the stories as well as the epilogue in detail. We will also be sharing with you some very interesting facts about the film that we bet you didn't know. Are you ready? Well, let's dive in then. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you, and let's begin. A step beyond science fiction. Heavy Metal, 1981. The movie begins with the voice of a man saying, "A shadow shall fall over the universe, and evil will grow in its path, and death will come from the skies." This is precisely when a green glowing orb is seen floating somewhere out deeper in space, and the movie title is seen to appear in bold. Please note that the whole film is split into a cluster of animated short stories, each connected by the mysterious glowing orb. Here's the beginning of the first story. Soft landing. We get to see an orbiting space shuttle that opens its cargo doors and releases a Corvette. An astronaut is seated in the car and makes a pretty smooth landing on Earth's surface, somewhere amid a desert. Riggs, Radar Rider, is seen playing in the background, and the astronaut is seen literally racing through a crop field towards an abandoned property. Grimaldi. The astronaut is seen arriving home and greeted by his excited daughter, who asks him what he has bought for her. The astronaut places his canister on the table and opens it. A strange-looking green crystalline sphere emerges out of the case and melts the astronaut's body, thereby killing him instantly. The green orb corners the young, terrified girl, telling her not to escape and that she is in its control. The crystalline orb next introduces itself as the sum of all evils, while further stating that its powers infest all times, all galaxies, and in fact, all dimensions. Many have attempted to seek it out to possess the green jewel, but the malicious sphere has destroyed not only their attempts, but also their very lives. Harry Canyon. We are in the dystopian, crime-ridden New York City, and the year happens to be 2031. We come across a cynical taxi driver called Henry Cannon, who is busy reading the morning newspaper. We learn about the mysterious orb, which is known as the Loch-Nah, and that it is also about to be exhibited at the New York Museum. Harry is seen picking up a passenger in his cab, but just minutes after they leave, the passenger pulls out his gun in an attempt to rob Harry. But the passenger did not know about Harry is the fact that the latter had installed a disintegrator right at the back of the driver's seat to thwart the frequent robbery attempts. With Harry pushing a red button with his foot, he activates the device, which ends up disintegrating the robber. Harry then takes the gun and puts it inside the glove compartment, which already has a pile of numerous other weapons stored there, each implying the number of times Harry had to face such similar episodes. The next scene takes an audience outside the museum, which will be exhibiting the Loch-Nah, but after the sound of a couple of gunshots, a man is heard screaming and falling on the very stairs outside the museum. A closer look at the man, and he is revealed to be the same professor that Harry was reading earlier about in a newspaper and having uncovered the ancient relic. His daughter comes running out and the professor tells her to run. A gangster called called Rudnick is seen inspecting the body of the professor, and upon realizing that he's dead, he asks his men to catch hold of the young woman. But before they can grab her, she hops into the cab of Harry. Now, Harry does not really like to get involved in things, but somehow the damsel in distress got to him. The woman starts blabbering to Harry about the Loch-Nah, but passes out in the car eventually. Harry carries her inside the police station to file a report. The place inside is filled with either prostitutes or illegal aliens. Anyway, the cops are of very little help. One of them even ends up charging Harry cash up front. $1,000 for a full investigation. Harry's seen tossing a coin at the cop and leaving from there. Not knowing what to do, he takes the woman to his apartment, knowing that she was going to be nothing but trouble. The woman wakes up Harry and offers her a glass of water. She thanks him for saving her life and tells him about the ancient relic, the Loch-Nah, that her father discovered in the desert. She further tells him that the relic is worth a fortune and that the Venusians want to lay their hands on it, thinking that it possesses spiritual powers. The woman further states to Harry that she is the only one who knows where the relic's hidden and that everyone is after her now to obtain it. Harry assures her that nobody is going to find her at his apartment and offers her the couch to sleep on. He also tells her to help herself to some beer that's in the fridge and goes to bed. The woman takes off her clothes and asks Harry if she can sleep with him. With Harry telling her that she can, she gets into his bed and they end up making love. The woman's gone in the morning. Instead, 2 cops arrive at his place asking about her. Harry tells them that he does not know, to which the cops tell him not to act smart with them and that if he hears from the woman, he should let them know, and if he does not, he is going to land himself in trouble. With Harry gearing himself up for work and getting inside his cab, one of Rudnick's thugs ambushes him from the back seat. With him threatening Harry with a knife and asking about the woman, Harry is about to activate the disintegrator button when Rudnick appears from behind and tells him not to do that. The gangster gets straight to the point with Harry and tells him that he represents a group of investors from a nearby planet and that they all wish to purchase the Loch-Nah from the woman. Now, with the investors getting restless, Rudnick asks Harry to let the woman know that time is running out. Speaking of Harry, he knew he should not have gotten involved with the woman, but something about her really turned him on. Afterward, at a traffic signal, Harry gets a message from the woman through a Transcom message service, asking him to meet her at 4 o'clock at the Statue of Liberty. It is also around the time that Harry realizes that he is being followed by Rudnick's men, so he decides to get rid of them, which he is successful at. Harry meets the woman at the given venue and the latter shows him the Loch-Nah. She also tells him that she's spoken to Rudnick about selling it and he has offered her 300,000 chrono dollars for it. With her asking Harry if he could help her, Harry agrees to come along with her, but for 50% of the take. They are seen arriving at a deserted bridge and Harry tells her that he is going to keep her covered. The exchange happens very quickly. She is seen handling the canister to Rudnick while the latter hands her the money. The woman hurriedly leaves from there in Harry's cab and Rudnick is seen opening the canister and grabbing the green orb. It goes without saying that he also meets his fated demise at the hands of the Loch-Nah. As for the woman, she is seen changing her mind about the splitting money situation with Harry and pulls out a gun asking Harry to pull over. Harry does what he is told and asks her if she is sure of her decision. With the woman affirming, he activates the disintegrator button, leading to the inevitable death of the woman. Harry, looking at the bag full of money, calls the whole thing to a 2-day ride with one hell of a tip. As the Loch-Nah, it begins to glow and the audience is taken back to the Grimaldi mansion where the Loch-Nah is seen telling the deceased astronaut's young daughter that she has had her first lesson, how it's capable of corrupting even the most innocent. The Loch-Nah further informs the young girl that it has chosen her because she possesses powers she still does not understand. Anyway, moving on to the next story. Den. A nerdy team named Dan finds the Loch-Nah in his backyard. Thinking it to be a green meteorite, he brings it home and sticks it in his rock collection. Dan's inclination towards scientific experiments leads him to experiment with natural electricity, but the green orb somehow manages to harness the energy and brings Dan into a different dimension, the world of Neverwhere. There, Dan transforms into a bigger, muscular, naked but bald man called Den. Upon arriving there, he witnesses some kind of ritual taking place below. A group of cloaked people are calling out the name of a god named Ulatek. A naked woman is seen lying on top of a slab, while another naked woman, or should we say some kind of female priest donning a mask, is seen summoning the god, with the priest ordering the others to toss the other naked women into the water, one where the ritual is to be conducted in all probability. Den is seen diving into the water and ultimately saving the women. She introduces herself as Catherine Wells and tells Den that she is from Earth, the British colony of Gibraltar to be more precise. She thanks Den for saving her life and as a reward asks asks him if there's any part of her body that would please his senses. She would be more than happy to give it, and willingly, may we add. We know what this means, and so do you. Well, Den makes the most of the opportunity. However, their session gets interrupted by the untimely arrival of a bunch of weird-looking humanoid creatures. Den and Catherine are taken to the castle of Ard, one who happens to be the supreme leader of the revolution and the next ruler of the world. Please note that Catherine by this time is already separated from Den, so when he asks Ard where Catherine is, Ard tells his guard to castrate Den. Of course, this is resulting in a fight, and Ard realizes that Den is worthy enough to serve him. He tells him that he has kept Catherine encased in glass, cast some kind of magic spell on her, and only he is capable of waking her up, but he will do so only if Den can steal the sacred Loc-Nar from the Queen, and in this case, the priestess we have earlier met. We realize that both Ard and the priestess have been competing for the possession of the green glowing sphere to perform the sacrifice to Olotek. Ard further has his bravest warrior, Norl, assist Den to do the task. The duo is seen infiltrating the Queen's castle along with a group of Ard's guards, and eventually going separate ways to find the Loc-Nar. Den goes into the Queen's quarters. The room is very dark, yet he sees the glowing orb and attempts to reach out for it, but he ends up grabbing the bosom of the very Queen. While initially the Queen orders her guards to slit the throat of Den, she changes her mind and takes Den inside her bedchamber, asking him to satisfy her appetite. Of course, Den is more than happy to agree to her terms and conditions, and he is seen sexually engaging himself with the Queen. No points for guessing that the Queen is satisfied, but then they are intervened by her guards, who inform the Queen that the Loc-Nar has been stolen, thinking Den was just being a distraction to her all this time, when in reality it was Norl who had laid hands on it and fled from there. The Queen is furious, but with her attempting to kill Den herself, the latter manages to escape from there, riding an alien horse. Den goes to the statue of Olotek, one where Ardis is busy doing the ritual. Catherine is chosen as the human sacrifice yet again. Den, upon reaching there, disguises himself as a priest and saves Catherine once again. By now, the Queen has also reached there, and she is soon engaged in a fight with Ard, each trying to repossess the Loc-Nar. This is where Dan is struck by an idea. He recreates this same lighting incident that had teleported him to Neverwhere in the first place, and manages to send both the Queen and Ard back to Earth. As for the Loc-Nar, it is seen landing right in front of Den. Catherine tells him that he can be a ruler if he uses it, but Den has no such intentions. He opts to fly away, with Catherine telling her that he likes it there in Neverwhere. The Loc-Nar, on the other hand, is seen flying off into space. Captain Stern. The Loc-Nar is next seen making its way inside a colossal space station near the planet of Jupiter. It lands on a hallway and becomes the size of a marble. Soon it's discovered by a man who picks it up and keeps it with him. The next scene takes place inside some kind of room, one that's filled with both humans as well as aliens. By the looks of it, it feels like some kind of trial is taking place there. The accused happens to be a certain Captain Lincoln F. Stern, and he is charged by the prosecutor with a rather long list of crimes. His crimes, as stated by the prosecutor, include 22 counts of piracy in high space, 18 counts of fraud, and 14 counts of armed theft of federal property, 12 counts of murder in the first degree, and 1 moving violation. Despite all of this, Stern pleads not guilty, much to the shock and chagrin of everyone present there. Stern's lawyer, Charlie, asks him if he's gone mad, but Stern tells him to calm down, while stating to him that he has an angle for his actions. The first witness, Hanover Fist, is called for the trial. He is the same person to have picked up the Loc-Nar from the floor and also Stern's angle, someone who has been promised 35,000 Zuleks. Anyway, moving on with the story. Fist testifies to Stern's good character, calling him kind, generous, and also addressing him as an overflowing cup that's filled with a very cream of human goodness. It's also during the same time that he starts playing with the Loc-Nar while being on the stand, but suddenly he starts blurting out the crimes of Stern while becoming angrier and hostile towards Stern. Fist also grows humongous in size, and there comes a point where he is determined to kill Stern for the crimes that the latter has created. With Stern running out of the trial room, he gets pursued by the hulking Fist. Having chased Stern throughout the whole situation, he's finally able to corner him. That's when Stern offers him the money that he had promised him, and Fist is seen transforming back to his normal self while thanking his boss. But much to Fist's shock, Stern is seen bidding him goodbye and pulling a lever, one that opens a trapdoor right beneath where Fist was standing and ejecting him into space. While Fist is seen burning up, we get to see the Loc-Nar clutch within several hands of Fist entering back into the Earth's atmosphere. B-17. The Pacific Pearl, or in other words, a World War II B-17 bomber, happens to be in very good shape, having undergone some serious damage, and let's not forget the casualties here. As the pilot somehow manages to fly the bomber back home, the co-pilot goes back to check on the crew. He discovers the bombardier dead, along with the cargo gunners as well as the tail gunner. But with him looking through the back window of the plane, he notices a mysterious-looking green sphere following them outside. Of course, it's the Loch Ness, which makes its way underneath the bomber and thrusts itself on the plane from below. This knocks a co-pilot unconscious, and then the whole plane glows green for a while. The co-pilot regains consciousness and is surprised to find the bodies of the cargo gunner missing. With him checking on the ball gunner's perch, he is grabbed by two clawed hands and pulled inside. Only screams can be heard, and then there's blood all over inside the turret. The pilot, on the other hand, upon not receiving any response from his co-pilot, puts the plane on autopilot mode and goes to check out things himself. To his utter shock, he discovers that all the dead crew members on the plane have been reanimated as zombies. He starts firing at them, but it's of no use. You can't kill a zombie who is already dead. The pilot, seeing no other options, jumps out of the plane, and his parachute makes him land on some deserted island. But to his horror, he discovers many warplanes having crashed on that very island, and the crew members of the plane having transformed into zombies, like the ones on his plane. The man is heard screaming while he is getting surrounded by hordes of zombified airmen. So beautiful and so dangerous. Remember the B-17 pilot? Well, his image is seen appearing on the scope of an enormous spaceship, one that's right above planet Earth monitoring the activities. The image of the pilot changes and we get to see the US Pentagon. A car arrives in front of the Pentagon and well-renowned scientist Dr. Anrak gets out of it. He's approached by a swarm of reporters, each wanting to know about the mysterious mutations that have been plaguing the country. Dr. Anrak does not initiate any conversation with the reporters and walks right into the Pentagon. He arrives at a board meeting filled with concerned and confused military officials, representatives, scientists, as well as senators. Dr. Anrak dismisses their concerns and tells them that there's no cause for alarm and nothing poses any threat to the world. It is also around the same time that Dr. Anrak notices the Loch Ness, which is now a necklace worn by the beautiful and voluptuous stenographer Gloria. Dr. Anrak starts slurring while speaking and suddenly ends up attacking Gloria across the table. He is literally on top of her, but then so is his huge spaceship right above the Pentagon. The spacecraft lowers a giant tube that penetrates the board meeting room and abducts Dr. Anrak as well as Gloria. It is soon revealed that Dr. Anrak is a humanoid robot who lands so hard that he breaks into several pieces. Gloria, upon landing, demands that she is returned to the office, but a short robot, the other robot, tells her that she cannot due to molecular instabilities all around the ship. With the short robot offering Gloria a drink, she follows him. As for the alien pilots, Edsel and Zeke, they are annoyed with the short robot since he always gets to make a play for the women. The pilots are seen snorting huge amounts of some drug called plutonium Nyborg and steering the ship around while simultaneously experiencing crazy hallucinatory visions. As for the short robot and naked Gloria, they are seen lying on the bed and looking at them. They surely did seem to have a great time. But Gloria is guilty of having indulged herself in such an encounter since she already has a boyfriend. So the short robot asks Gloria to get married to him, but Gloria says that they are different and that mixed marriages don't really work. With the short robot asking Gloria to trust him, she agrees to marry him, but states her condition. She wants a Jewish wedding and that he should be circumcised. As for the intoxicated pilots, Edsel and Zeke, they make a crash landing in a huge outer space colony. Tana. The Loch Ness is now the size of a gigantic meteor. It is seen crashing inside a dormant volcano in a different world. The entire thing is witnessed by a mass of people and they all decide to investigate by traveling to the site of the volcano. But as they arrive there, the volcano erupts and from it emerges some kind of green-colored lava, one that mutates all the spectators into larger-looking green-skinned abominations. The first man that the green lava covers is known as the Barbarian Leader, and he is seen declaring a death sentence on all who oppose him and his followers. Next, he is seen commanding his army to attack the council chamber. This leads to the brutal death of many, and innocents are massacred. The city council is seen calling a meeting amongst themselves to decide what their next course of action should be. The leader, Elder, tells them that they are not a race of warriors and that they are statesmen and scientists. Remembering the pact that they had with the warrior race of Tarak the Defender, they decided to summon Tana of the blood of Tarak the Defender, the last of the race. The council is seen joining together to call the defender from within. However, the barbarian leader breaks down the chamber door and viciously kills everyone inside, but Tana has already been summoned. We see a cloaked rider on the back of an alien avian entering the temple of Tana. The rider is revealed to be a beautiful woman with a luscious silver mane. She is seen stripping and swimming in a large pool inside the temple. Next, she is seen laying hands on her armor and sword. After she is ritually prepped herself, she is seen getting on the back of a mount and arriving at the council chamber. She is shocked to see that everyone is dead there, and upon seeing the beheaded elder holding some kind of an amulet, she takes it and flies off looking for revenge. She stops at a tavern and finds a couple of bats that have been tied to a hitching rail. Upon noticing that the bats have the same symbol that she found on the amulet earlier, she decides to step inside the tavern and gestures with her hands for a drink. It becomes clear that Tana is mute. Soon she draws the very attention of a few barbarians, and with them trying to get rough with her, she ends up decapitating all of them with her sword. Next, she shows the amulet to the bartender, who tells her to go beyond the oasis, towards where the green meteor landed. As Tana flies over a canyon, she gets attacked by the barbarians, who capture her along with her bird using a large net. One of the mutant barbarians, upon seeing Tana's tattoo, informs the barbarian leader that they have captured a Tarakian. Still not sure of her true origin, the barbarian leader asks his men to have Tana washed, bound, and then brought to his chamber. As for the bird, he asks his men to kill it. Tana is brought to him tied, and the leader ends up whipping her profusely and throwing her eventually inside some kind of an open but deep pit. Speaking of Tana's bird, it is tied down and the barbarians are seen attempting to shoot it. The bird manages to escape from there, and after saving Tana from the pit, they both fly away from there. The barbarian leader is hell-bent on wanting Tana dead, and so he flies after her along with his army. Tana's bird gets shot in the process, and they are forced to land. The barbarian leader eventually finds her, and what ensues next is an intense battle between the duo. However, the leader is able to gain an advantage over Tana thanks to his mechanical hand, which he uses to throw her sword away. With him attempting to kill an incapacitated Tana, he gets bitten by Tana's bird on the leg. Tana, on the other hand, manages to hit the leader on his head using a pipe. Next, she uses his very mechanical hand to slash his own throat, after which she punches him right in the face, thereby killing him. After she's done dealing with the leader, Tana gets up on a bird and together they fly towards the volcano. Of course, the Loc-Nar tells her not to sacrifice herself as she cannot destroy it, but that does not stop Tana from doing what she wants to. Wielding the very powers of her sword and her warrior lineage, she is able to destroy the Loc-Nar. Epilogue. While Tana's self-sacrifice was powerful enough to go beyond both time and space and also destroy the Loc-Nar that had been terrorizing the astronaut's daughter all this while, the ancient relic is seen exploding and destroying the mansion too in the process. Of course, a young girl had managed to escape from there before, and she was already at a safe distance when the explosion occurred. Suddenly, Tana's bird is seen appearing in front of the girl. The latter is absolutely thrilled to see the bird and goes to pet it, after which she is seen climbing on its back and flying away from there. We learn that the spirit of Tana has been transferred across the universe to a new defender, and no points for guessing who that is. Heavy Metal, a rotoscoping masterpiece. Heavy Metal indisputably happens to be a true classic of the 1980s, which received its due cult status eventually. What is impressive is the work of animation in the film, especially the rotoscoping technique that has been used during several shots. Now, for those who do not know much about this method is basically used by animators to trace over motion picture footage, frame by frame, to create realistic action. The technique usually consists of initially shooting models and actors and then tracing the shot onto film for animation purposes. The Pacific Pearl, or the B-17 bomber to be more precise, was captured using a 10-foot model and then animated. The same goes for the character of Tana. Celebrated Toronto model Carol Despians was initially used as a model for the animated character. Fantasy illustrator and painter Christos Chris Achelios composed as well, as designed the famous promotional poster image of the movie, which centers on the central character Tana and her Tarakian mount. The wonderfully stylized and diversified animation, especially the remarkable scenes, space vessels, and let's not forget the classic space stations, are noticeably striking, along with Elmer Bernstein's fantastic background score hitting all the right chords and captivating the audience with a real essence of animation. Also, animator Robert Balser directed the animation sequence Den for the film. Even the shot of the exploding house near the end of the movie was originally made up to be rotoscoped with the film's release date moving moving up from November to August 1981. A lack of time prevented it from being rotoscoped, so this basically remains the only non-animated sequence in the film. Our marvelous verdict: the film is highly imaginative and full of surprising special effects. No wonder the movie set the bar high for alternative contemporary animation. From elements of violence, humor, a great storyline, sex and nudity, this movie has everything that you could possibly ask for. We highly recommend that you give this visually stunning animated movie a definite watch. With this, we finally come to the end of our video here. Do hit us with your thoughts in the comment section and let us know what it is that you absolutely love about this movie. Also, stay tuned for us for more interesting content. And if you liked our content, well, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.